I'm Zaccura and welcome back to my channel, and Inktober is finally over. As I've been asking every week, how are you guys feeling and how are you feeling now that it's over? Let me know down in the comments. So this video has the process footage for the 4th week of Inktober, as well as the extra 3 days in the month. I think it was 3 days, right? So in total it has 11 drawings, or pages rather, as well as the cover image, of course. As this is the last week, I wasn't actually sure what I wanted to talk about. I felt the most logical thing would be to talk about what I learned from Inktober and how I felt and so on. But I really feel that I learned a lot more from last year's than this year. Because I learned so much from last year, I was able to really structure what to do this year so that it would work for me. And it did, for the most part. So I suppose I learned that when I observe my mistakes as well as my successes, it really helps a lot with what to do in the future. I made a lot of mistakes last year, but a lot of things also went very well. And I sort of listed all those things for myself. Not much in an actual written list, but I did make chat videos last year talking honestly about what I felt. So I was able to really recall that, and I think that that was very important. Because after a year passes, I think it's very easy to somewhat forget how you really felt at the time. So if I didn't tell myself things and didn't let myself know that hey, Zaccura, you're really stressing out, here's why, and here's what to do for the future, I probably very well would have made many of the same mistakes. So for this week's video, I figured I'd talk about learning from past experiences and how I think it's very important that you as an artist actively pay attention to things that you do and don't dismiss them or simply say, oh, I'll do better next time, but rather ask yourself, okay, what exactly went wrong this time? And versely, what went right this time? And now, what do I think I should do for the future? So if you did participate in Inktober this year, whether you completed it or not, or if you purposely did a less amount, etc., I would suggest actually sitting down and seeing, okay, what went right, what went wrong, why, and what I should think about doing for the future. I think that as a person who makes YouTube videos, I'm in a way forced to have these sit-downs and really think about things and organize them and talk about them. And because of that, I'm able to reflect and learn from myself a lot more, which I think has definitely helped me. But even when I was just starting out, before I did YouTube, before I even started sharing my work online, and even when I was getting through that beginning stage of, oh, all my work stinks, I still always asked myself, why? What's wrong? Is it that the arms are disproportionate? Are my strokes too heavy or wobbly? I nitpicked basically, and yes, this can certainly serve to frustrate yourself even more when you spend too much time obsessing over how bad your work is. But it also allowed me to really see and pay attention to what I needed to improve on. It's something that I continue to do now, and being an utter perfectionist, I don't think I will ever be able to stop doing it, but with every piece I make, I always nitpick. I'm definitely kinder to myself now than before, but I still take the time to find the parts that I don't think are great, and find the parts that I'm happy with, and really try to pay attention to the why. And then store all this in my head so that I can actively make changes or keep certain things the same depending on what I like and don't like. And I definitely think that doing this can make a major difference into how much or how fast you improve as an artist. Pinpointing and breaking down your work so that you can specifically work on things helps you get better faster than just the organic, natural way of drawing and then stumbling upon improvement and things that you like. Which honestly I think is great too, and is the main reason I always recommend to new artists to just draw, and just draw what they like and to just have fun, because you will naturally improve and you will find out what you like. But at some point I think being able to pinpoint things to do and not to do will help you to continue to improve and not just be in the dark constantly stumbling upon good drawings. And this paying attention continues to help you even when you start moving on to bigger things than just a sketch or just an illustration, but a whole project or a challenge, like Inktober. How well you can draw starts to become not the only problem, but also how much can you draw, for how long? How long can you be consistent? How long can you continuously be creative without a break? These are all things that, again, I think should be closely paid attention to in yourself. Finding out the way you work and understanding your limits, or your limits at the moment, so that you can take on projects and succeed while still doing it on your terms without losing your head from stress. I would implore that no matter how your Inktober journey went this year, to think to yourself or even list them out and write them down. What were the pros and cons for you? What did you learn, and how would you use this information going forward? And if you'd like to share your experience, please do feel free to write all this down in the comments of this video. This way others can also learn from your experiences. And maybe those who haven't participated in Inktober yet can have something to keep in mind if they decide to give it a try next year. And honestly, I'm just always quite interested in hearing everyone's thoughts. For me, the biggest cons I had last year was burnout. And I broke down exactly what caused it for me last year. And so when going into this year, I made sure to take those experiences seriously and made my project to work around those cons. One was commitment, simply having the idea in the back of my mind that I needed to do things a certain way without any exceptions put a very big stress on my mind. And two, the time it took to create each illustration. They were simply too complex and took too many hours for me to keep it going for longer than 2 weeks without feeling very burnt out. So when going into this year, I made sure to let myself and everyone else know that I wasn't committing to anything. I mentioned it would be nice to do the everyday journal idea, but I also gave myself room in case I wanted to draw something else one day. And in the end, I actually did all 31 days of journal pages, but I didn't feel the pressure to. And when it came to the actual illustrations, they were very, very small, and while some of them certainly did have quite a bit of detail, when you're working that small, there's really only so much time you can possibly spend on one drawing. And also, as I paid attention to the fact that things started to get better the more routine I had in place last year, I also made sure to have one this year. So with all of this combined, I managed to solve my burnout issue. Something that was unexpected this year that I learned was the experience of writing a story a day at a time. I've never quite did something like that before because from experience, you always make mistakes and plot holes on your first run through of writing. But what I learned from doing a page a day of a continuous storyline is that I had to work around these mistakes and actually force myself to make them work. And doing this was one of the coolest experiences I've had so far as a writer, because it honestly felt like I was, in a way, reading a story while I was writing it. I was discovering things about my own story and characters along with everyone else. And I'd be lying if this experience didn't play a major part in keeping me motivated every day. But I can also see the issues that could arise from doing something like this, because if you're not leading the story, then the story could very well end up going in a direction that you don't want it to, or it doesn't make any sense, and you have no way of putting yourself back on track. Which is why I still wouldn't do this if it was a much longer storyline with a lot of details, because I feel it would simply turn into a never-ending string of events, and that's not a story, that's just boring. But because of how short this story was, I was in some way able to prepare myself for what was going to happen. I did know how the whole thing was going to end, like 6 or 5 days beforehand. So I was able to tie up loose ends and keep the whole thing on track there. But I'd say for like the first whole 3 weeks, I had no idea how the story was going to end. I knew nothing about Zig's past, who he was. I was just as much in the dark as everyone else. Except I had the honor to discover and learn who the characters were and show that to everyone else. And that was a very special experience. I've grown to love these characters more than I thought I was going to, and they are one of my favorite casts that I've created, both character and design-wise. So you guys are probably still gonna be seeing more drawings of them from me in the future. But for now, since some of you may be curious about what I'm going to do now that the story is complete, I'm currently looking into ways to get the book printed and distributed. I mentioned last year that I wanted to print all of my Inktober works, which was String to the Other Side, my character Willow, and the Silent Story, and yada yada. But I ran into walls due to the actual dimensions of those illustrations, as well as the fact that it's a story but without words, and it was just, nothing was really working properly. But this year, especially with it being an actual readable book this time, I really do want to get it out there. So most likely I am going to be setting up a crowdfunding campaign that people will be able to donate to and help me raise the funds needed to actually print the book. I will be sure to keep you guys updated both here on YouTube as well as my social media as it progresses. So you guys will be the first to know if and when the campaign goes live and how you can help if you so wish and how all the details and everything is going to work. I'm still working out a lot of stuff. It's kind of complicated because I've never done this before. So yeah, thank you guys so much for the support on this project this past month, or I guess this last month since it's already November. It means a lot that there were people who enjoyed them and looked forward to reading and seeing the pages every day. You guys definitely also played a big part in keeping me motivated to keep it up and finish this project, so thank you. I will be having the full walkthrough video going up probably next week, and I probably will be holding a premiere for that video since it's gonna be a longer one, so this way y'all can chat with me while we watch it together for the first time. So be sure to follow me on my socials, plug in, because I will be hyping that and saying when that will happen over there. Big congratulations to everyone who did Inktober. It's a hard challenge, but a very rewarding one, and I hope you guys had as much fun this year as I did. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you did, please be sure to give it a thumbs up. And if you haven't already, be sure to subscribe so you don't miss out on upcoming videos. I make new videos every week, and I am going to try to get back to my normal Sunday upload schedule now that Inktober is over, but we'll see. If you'd like to follow me on my social media for daily updates, all the links to that are in the description box. And until next time, stay awesome, stay inspired, always. See ya!